welcome to everybody. Good afternoon. This second session is dedicated to education and training. In the first session held on the 33rd of October last, we addressed the issue of the changes needed in governance and production. Sorry, maybe can I ask you to switch off the phone, the microphone? Thank you. Thank you very much. So I was saying that in the first session held on 23rd of October last, we addressed the issue of the changes needed in governance and production and consumer models to pursue a human economy inspired by integral ecology. But this new model cannot be achieved without getting involved in education and training for at least two reasons. First, because education is central to the economic system and businesses, human capital is today the fundamental productive factor. Second, because only investment in inclusive education and training can activate the change in individual and collective behavior needed to build new paradigms capable of responding to the challenges and emergencies of the modern world with greater respect to person and environment. In my speech, I would like to recall some relevant aspects of the Church's magisterium on this subject of education. And I will start quoting Laudato Si. Pope Francis in point 202 states, many things have to change course, but it is we, human beings, above all, who need to change. We lack on awareness of our common origin, of our mutual belongings, and of a future to be shared by everyone. To this basis, to this basic awareness would enable the development of new conviction, attitudes, and form of life. A great cultural, spiritual, educational challenge stands before us, and it will demand that we set out on the long path of renewal. And it also affirms that our efforts on educational will be inadequate and ineffectual unless we strive to promote a new way of thinking about human life, human beings, society, and our relationships with the nature. Point 215. So there is a close link between socioeconomic development and the educational process. Both of them must change. In particular, the educational training model must evolve to create a new mentality, new analytical approaches, new methods. Schools and universities must return to transmit moral and civic values for the good of each and everyone. The Holy Father speaks of an educational alliance based on a village for an education that integrates and respects all aspects of the person by bringing together study and day life, teachers, students, and their families, politics, economy, business, finance, and civil society. A great challenge that we are all called to face together by placing the human person at the center of this village. A challenge that must be faced urgently in the situation we are experiencing, affected by the devastating effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Regeneration towards a better world needs competent, conscious, and inclusive human capital. Investing in education and training means helping young people who are the real subject of development. In the 15th October 2020 video message addressed to the participant of the meeting Global Compact on Education, Together to Look Behind, Pope Francis directed and renewed the invitation to all sections of the society, and I quote, "Let us heed the plea of the young, which opens our eyes to both the urgent need and the exciting opportunity of a renewed kind of education that does not turn the gaze to other ways, favoring grave injustice, violation of rights, terrible form of poverty, and the waste of human life." End of quote. I must say that this message is on the website, the Centesimus website. The Pope shows us an integral and shared journey, a most necessary and urgent path to a new educational pact, to transmit to young people an integral, participatory, and multi-faced culture, and prepare them to face an uncertain future, increasingly characterized by complexity. To do this, the Holy Father asks to everyone's commitment to putting the human person, his value and dignity at the center of every formal and informal educational process, in order to foster their distinctiveness, beauty, and uniqueness, and their capacity for relationship with others and with the world around them, while at the same time teaching them to reject lifestyles that encourage the spread of the throwaway culture. On this path, many aspects of the educational process must be addressed: access to study, structures, methods, and contents, to provide everyone, without exception, not only with the specialized skill necessary to seize the new jobs opportunity of the digital world, but also the humanistic, spiritual, and ethical ones, with a multidisciplinary approach capable of forming creative and relational people. Universities must play a very special role in this new training course. In his address to participants at the International Conference for Leaders and Universities on 4th November 2019, the Holy Father stated that the true vocation of universities is, and I quote, "prepare new generation to become not only qualified professionals in various disciplines, but also proponents of the common good, creative and responsible leaders in social and civil life, equipped with a proper vision of the person and the world." Universities today then need to consider what contribution they can and must make to the integral health of the person and an inclusive ecology. End of quote. Universities must form new type of leaders. Therefore, they should teach business not only as a producer of a profit for shareholders, but also as a tool for economic and civil development. To do this, it would be useful to study and talk about the virtuous cases of companies that are already inspired by this new business concept, which creates value for everyone and nourishes knowledge in society, just as Adriano Olivetti did. Business schools in particular are called upon to train managers with professional ethics and personal morality, who know how to put the common good before their own interests, who have a vision, who know how to decide not only on the basis of their own knowledge, although indispensable, but also, I would say above all, of moral integrity, responsibility, and courage. This manager figure is particularly crucial in the current phase of management of the pandemic, because we must build a new world based on principles and values with which regrettably have been forgotten. The principles of care, to till, to keep. In the Catholic social teaching, for the Catholic social teaching, we need to form communities of people, of young people prepared to become entrepreneurs, managers, financial operators, and representatives of institutions, politics, and governments who are guided by ethical principles and are attentive to people's need and environmental protection. We need to train responsible, collaborative, inclusive, and supportive leaders. Education in solidarity is not easy, but it is very important. And I want to quote what Pope Francis stated at the general audience of 2nd September 2020. And I quote, "Solidarity today is the road to take toward a post-pandemic world, towards the healing of our interpersonal and social ills. There is no other way. Solidarity presumes the creation of a new mindset, which thinks in terms of community and the priority of the life of all over the appropriation of good by a few. This means solidarity. It is not just a question of helping others. This is a good thing to do, but it is more. It is a question of justice. An educational process oriented to form a new mentality sensitive to solidarity with a spirit of responsibility is an epochal change compared to what has been taught in the last 50 years, in which in the center of all the teaching of corporate economics has been not the person, but the capital, thus influencing the vision and behavior of the whole world. The new educational pact does not only involve universities, but all schools at all levels, even those of childhood. It is from an early age, as many researches show, that cognitive skills and effective relationships can be activated for the growth of the child and all his faculties. For this reason, families must be included in the pact, and the educational model must evolve towards a greater, more fruitful school-family dialogue at all levels. Public and private bodies responsible for education must cooperate more. In particular, the world of business and finance can play an important role in the new educational pact, both in supporting and encouraging public institutions to promote access for all to adequate education, and also by directly activating effective training tools for their employees in application of the subsidiary principle. Businesses can be important generators of good relationships. Among other things, several studies show that the quality of relationships in the workplace positively influences relationships in the family, and thus creating a greater serenity and cohesion. We talked about it at our 7th consultation held in Milan, 31st of January, 2020. The proceedings are on the Centesimus website. With today's session, we wanted to continue the analysis of how to concretely realize a new educational model. In order to form capable people and organizations open and capable of looking in a new way at the many pandemics that afflicts the world, and of working the path towards integral human development and fullness of life with responsibility, courage, and hope. I warmly thank you, His Eminence Cardinal Turkson, Prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Inter-Human Development, who agreed to give us his opening address, and also all the speakers, Professor Martin Kremers, Anna Maria Lusardi, and Alessandro Vespignani, for their testimony. We are really very grateful to you for being with us today. And a heartfelt thank you to Archbishop Nunzio Galantino, who will close the conference works. And last but not least, a special thanks to Bishop Guy Real Tivierge, who is a great friend of the Centesimus, for having agreed to moderate the session.